Hey friends, Sleepy here, and welcome to another episode of my weekly playlist series. It's Friday again, and so that means it's time for me to talk about the games I have been playing during the week with you guys, give you guys my thoughts and opinions on these games, whether I think you guys should check them out or not. I would also like to hear about the games you guys are playing, because that gives me great ideas. I've been hearing so many good games you guys have been playing, and this first one I'm going to share with you is actually I'm playing it because a couple of you guys have actually talked about playing this series, and it just got my interest peaked in it again. I decided, hey, I want to start going through it now. I keep talking about it. I keep hearing other people playing through it, and I decided, to finally start it a couple of weeks ago, and I'm continuing on that. So we'll get to that. If you guys have any recommendations for games you think I should check out, let me know, because I'm always looking for recommendations of games to check out. And you guys have recommended some really awesome games, especially JR Man and my buddy Dean and Nick T. Wolf and Cats Games, whatever, Mario. There's been so many of you that have recommended really good games that I have a nice list going of games to keep an eye out for, or if I already have them in my collection to eventually play through. So I really appreciate your guys' suggestions of games, because you guys have given me a huge list and a huge backlog that I already have piling on of games to check out, because I'm always looking for new games to experience that I might have missed. And I play stuff all the way from the old Atari 2600 all the way up to Xbox One. So I'm always looking for games for different genres. So if you guys have a game you think I should check out, let me know about it and I will look into it. So we'll get started here. So I'm having a really good week, because I actually started my vacation yesterday on Thursday the 20th, and I don't have to go back until next Friday. So I had a total of 8 days off. So I still have 6 more days off, and I got Saturday through Thursday. Don't go back to next Friday. And I am planning to play a lot of games. Now this week I only really played 2 games, but they were eating up a lot of my time, because I did have to work in the first half of the week, so I didn't get to play a whole lot. But here towards the end of the week now on Friday, I'm been able to play more games, and I'm planning to play more this weekend. I also want to do some game hunting and stuff like that. But I got 2 to share with you guys. So the first one here is for PlayStation 4, and this is going to be my 3rd week now working on this game and series. And I'm hoping to get more time to play it this week than I had the previous week, because I have finally got to, I believe I'm on chapter 3, or I'm on chapter 4 now, and I think there's like 17 chapters total, and that is Yakuza 0, which this is an awesome game. Now, it used to be exclusive to the PS4, but they recently did release it digitally for the Xbox One consoles, but I like my physical copies, and Yakuza's always been a PlayStation series, so I really feel like you should play it on a Sony console. I may someday get them on Xbox One, but that's only if they release a physical version. I'm not going to pay and buy the digital ones when I already own physical ones on PS4, but if they were to somehow release them on Xbox One, I'd probably pick them up down the road when they got cheaper. This game is awesome. I absolutely am having a blast playing through the Yakuza series. I've always loved them ever since I played the first 2 on PlayStation 2, which my brother is the one who actually got me into the series, and also had my one buddy Andy was playing as well, and it just was really cool. Like, oh, you got to try this game out, and I tried it out, and it was just really fun, and it was cool, and so I loved the series. Now, I played both of those, but I never actually did beat either of them. And eventually my brother did give me both of his copies when he donated most of his retro games to me. Those were 2 of the games that were among them, so that was awesome. And he also gave me Yakuza 3 and 4 for PlayStation 3, and Yakuza Dead Souls for the PlayStation 3. So, I'll pretty much have the entire series now. It's really cool that this is a prequel, though, to the original Yakuza games, and they did re-release Yakuza 1 and 2. They call them Yakuza Kiwami 1 and 2 for PlayStation 4, and those were remade and new graphics and stuff for the PlayStation 4, and they added content and stuff to it. And I actually have both of those now, too. I just recently bought the second one on eBay, and you guys will see it in one of my future pickup videos. But I finally have all of the Yakuza games. I have Yakuza 0 through 6. I have Yakuza Dead Souls. I have that new one, Yakuza Like a Dragon. And the only one I need to get is the Judgment game, which is a new game in the series, but kind of like a spin-off with different characters and stuff, but it's one I'm looking forward to getting here eventually. But highly recommend you guys definitely check out the Yakuza series. And like I said, so this one's a prequel to those games. And so this one takes place in 1988, and you get to play as 2 different characters. The main character of the series is Kazuma Kiryu here, and this one is Goro Majima, and this actually goes into their past. So if you guys have played the Yakuza 1 and 2 and the later games, you guys have played these characters before, but this actually goes back into their past when they were younger and first joined the Yakuza, and you get to hear about their past and stuff, and so it's really cool. You go get into learn about these characters' past and stuff, and learning stuff about them, which is great, and it helps along with the story and everything. So I gotta read you guys a little excerpt from the back. So it's 1988 Japan. Kazuma Kiryu is a junior Yakuza who collects debt, but when a debtor turns up dead, the family's business is threatened, and Kiryu finds himself on the wrong end of a bad deal. And so the beginning part of the game, the first couple chapters, you play as Kiryu, and then you eventually switch to Majima, which I just actually got to. And it says, meanwhile, Goro Majima has been exiled to Osaka for disobeying orders. Now working as manager of the club Grand, he yearns to return home and gets a chance when a hit is put on the table. So it's really cool, a really interesting game. It is heavily story focused, so there's a lot of story in the game, which I really like. There's a lot of cutscenes in the game. There's like in-game cutscenes where you can see it uses the engine, but then there are also like regular cutscenes which have much better graphics and stuff and kind of have like that movie feel to them. So you can tell the difference between the two different ones. Now, not everything in the game is voiced, so sometimes there is a text to read, but what is voiced is in Japanese, and I prefer it that way. I like my international games to have their native languages with the English subtitles. The same thing with anime and stuff. I have watched, things with dubs, because this does not have a dub, and for me it feels more authentic that way and really helps bring you into the game and everything, which this does have a fantastic story. You guys know I don't like to ruin story or anything for you, but it is really fun and fantastic. You guys have the main story to go through, but they have a whole bunch of extra side stuff you can do in the game, which are optional. You don't have to do them, but I like to do the extra stuff. So they have extra little sub stories, they call them, where you can do different little missions, like maybe somebody lost something, you got to help them find it, or maybe somebody got mugged. There's a whole variety. I think there's like over 100 of them between the two characters of side stories you can go through. You also have different characters you can meet in the game, and they're all unique and have their own personalities and stuff, and they can unlock stuff for you. And sometimes if you do things for them, they'll actually give you items or weapons or equipment or something for your character to use. It'll make you stronger, so that's really cool. So on the back he talks about Witness. So Kiryu and Majima, before they became legends, explore a realistic rendered Japan and enjoy karaoke, arcade games, phone dating, and more. And then there's also the battling, which has a lot of battling in it, which is really great. I like that. Its battle is furious and fun with over-the-top fighting styles you can change on the fly. So that's something that's really cool too about the combat in this game, is there are different kind of fighting styles that you can play with, learn, and use as you battle enemies, because different enemies have different strengths and different weaknesses, and you can exploit that by changing your battle style on the fly. And at the start of the game, each character only has one fighting style, but as you progress through the game and the story, you actually learn more than one. Like for Kiryu, I have 3 fighting styles for him, and so far with Goro, I only have just the one fighting style, and they're all different from each other. And what's really cool is they are under your category as considered abilities. You can actually upgrade them, because this game does have a currency system. It uses the yen, which is Japanese money, and you can use that money to upgrade your character in each of the different battle styles. Like you can get more health, or you can make it where you can take more damage, you have more stamina, different moves you can unlock, because it's not just pushing a button. Sometimes there's combos you can unlock, there's special moves, because your character does have what's called a heat gauge that builds up, and you have up to 3 bars, and when you build them up, you can actually do a super move for each of those bars, and so that can come in handy for taking out really tough enemies really quickly. And there's a whole bunch of different takedown moves you can do too, which is really cool. By the different ones, it's just awesome. Like some of them, like Kiryu, he grabbed a guy, he throws him against a car, opens the door, puts his head there, slams the door, car door on his head, and then he comes back and then kicks the door onto the guy's head. And there's another one where he picked up a guy and suplexed him onto a guardrail, and just all kinds of really silly, outlandish attacks like that. It's cool. You also see blood flying out of guys and stuff, so it's really cool. There are enemies that do have guns in it that can shoot you, so you have to watch out. You can get guns yourself and shoot enemies, but what I found was really interesting about these games is, like, you beat these guys, like you snap their neck or whatever, And after the fight's over, like they're not dead, and they just apologize to you. Oh, I'm so sorry for beating you up. I learned my lesson. It's funny. It's like you do these moves, they clearly should be dead, but they aren't. So, so far, I haven't killed any enemies. Now, each of the characters gets to roam around a part of Japan, and each they have a different city that they're in, and you can run around that city and explore. And while exploring it is where you can discover the main mission, of course, which is on a pink little icon that looks like a disc, and that's where you have to go for main stuff. But as you run around through the city, you will encounter random enemies, different groups, and there's ones that are like biker guys, and there's hoodlums, and there's hooligans, and there's these guys called Men in Black in suits, and these people will attack you if you're running around. Now, I did read one of the tips said that if you hold the R1 button and walk, you're less likely to get into fights. But let me tell you, you want to get into as many battles and fights as you can, because as you beat these enemies up, you actually earn money. And if you do different move styles, like you mix it up and you do special moves and stuff, you can earn bonus stuff. Like if you don't get hit, untouchable, and you take out two guys at once. Like I knocked out three dudes in one attack before and got a big bonus into money. So it's really cool and really useful to go through and do battles. So it's kind of, has that RPG elements where you have the random battles you encounter. And I've been doing as many of those as I can because I was leveling up my characters, because as you progress through the story, the enemies do get stronger. Even your regular little foot soldiers that are out and about in the city get tougher. So it's good to grind a little bit, and that's what I've been doing. But you also have other side things that I really like you can do in this game is you can go to, there's a couple different Sega arcades you can go to and play actual Sega games like Hang On, the racing game Outruns in the Outrun is in this game. You can play, oh geez, what's the other one? Damn it! Don't you hate that? I told this before. Like I started to make these videos, I can't remember what the hell some of the stuff's in the game, but Space Harriers in it, so there's really cool to play actual arcade games in the game, and you can use your own, you use your yen to play it, but it's really cool. There's also little UFO catchers, which are claw machines, and you actually can collect little collectibles in the game, like a stuffed Sega Mega Drive, or different little characters from different Sega games, or some weird Japanese little creatures and squirrels and all kinds of strange things. And I found myself playing those off and on, collecting the little things. They're just, fun little collectibles. You can do karaoke. You can also go dancing. You can do batting cages, bowling, which I really like the bowling. There's darts, there's pool, so there's all kinds of neat little mini side stuff you can do. But they had that kind of stuff in like Grand Theft Auto. Now I know it's not for everybody. I know not everybody's into those quirky and weird little mini games and stuff like that, which you don't have to do. You also can play mahjong. You can also play what is that? Shogi, that Japanese chess, which I tried playing a lot, but I'm really lost when it comes to that, and I have not beat the computer yet. I've played it a couple times and just kind of lost with the game. I'm not really good at that, but it's just still kind of fun to play, and they're neat little distractions and stuff. And then of course, I love having the side missions to go through and do. But it's a fantastic game. It's a wonderful story. Really beautiful rendered city. Like the city looks really alive, especially if you played the old like PS2 ones. They kind of were sparse with the NPCs. This one has people all over the place. You have the ambient noise and stuff, and if you have a headset, which I plug my headset into my controller from my Xbox One, it's really nice to really hear things that you might not hear when you have it just on the TV. And it's just a really fun game. Having a blast with it. I really like Japan. I find it very interesting. I've always found the Yakuza to be interesting. And this game is just amazing. Like I said, I know it's not for everybody. Not everybody's into the running around the adventures and like a beat 'em up adventure type of game. But I definitely think you should give it a try, especially if you have a PlayStation 4. Highly recommend you guys start with Yakuza 0 because it gets you insight into the characters before they were legends in the series. And so, a lot of people say start with Yakuza Kiwami, so number 1, but I would suggest start with 0 and then make your way through all through in chronological order, because the stories do progress as you play through the story. So you don't want to play a later game because you're going to miss stuff that happened before. So they really should be played in order, and I'm having a blast with it, and think you guys should check out Yakuza 0. Wonderful game. And our other one here, I've been playing for my Nintendo Switch, which Nintendo Switch hasn't got a whole lot of love in the last few weeks, But I really wanted to play this game here, as it's one I've beaten before many times on the 360 and Xbox One. But I did want to finish beating the other one here on the Switch, and that is Metro Last Light. And I have the Metro Redux collection, which has Metro 2033 and Last Light, and they both were remade, a little bit better graphics, and added all the DLCs and stuff that you had to buy before in the 360 and PS3 versions were added for the Xbox One, the PS4, and Switch version. Now, I've beat this on Xbox One several times. I've also beat the 360 one several times, but I got this for the Switch, and I only play this portably for the Switch. You know, I could hook it up to the TV and play it, but I really bought it to be able to play it portably, and it does look beautiful on the Switch. Now, it's not as good as, obviously, as my Xbox One X would be or a PS4 Pro, but it still looks well in handheld mode. Of course, it looks better if you hook it up to the TV, but like I said, I got it so I could play it mobile, because it's one of my absolute favorite series. I love the Metro games. I beat the first two several times, but I've never beat Metro Exodus, and I wanted to go back and beat Exodus, but I decided, I want to go back on the Switch and beat Last Light again, as I haven't played it in quite a while, and I just really wanted to finish it, because I did beat 2033 a couple years ago on the Switch, like 2 years ago when I first got this. Wonderful game, an amazing first-person shooter, very good story. If you guys haven't played Metro 2033, you definitely should play that one first before you play Last Light. It's a wonderful game. I really like the aspect of this is that you can play the game in two different ways. You can either go through levels guns blazing and kill every enemy, and it can get really tough, or you can also go the whole game through stealth and not kill any enemies. And there's actually two different endings, a good ending and a bad ending. And depending on your moral choices in the game, depend on the kind of ending you get. And I've always enjoyed going through stealth, because it makes the game a little bit more challenging, and I like that extra little challenge too. Of course, I played it, so much that I'm starting to remember as I'm even going through here again. I'm like, oh yeah, you go through this path to this path. Shadows and lighting play a huge key part in this game, especially if you're doing stealth. Artyom is the main character. He has a little watch on his wrist, and the light on it will turn blue if you're visible. So throughout the world, you'll run into light bulbs that you can unscrew to turn off lights, or you can shoot them. There might be big lights hanging up you have to put out. There could be fire somewhere. There could be little lanterns you could turn off. And all of those you can make dark, so you can actually do stealth and stuff. And then, of course, though, some things might be out of your reach, and so you might have to use a gun. But if you use a regular gun, it'll make noise and alert the enemy, so you want to have a silencer on your gun. So that's really, comes into that, having to factor in what you're going to do. Where do you take an enemy out, because you don't want other enemies to see him. So you have all those things you have to think about as you progress through the story, which is this is a linear game. You just go from point A to point B through these stories, but you can explore in the levels themselves and go through them a little bit differently. There are sometimes multiple paths to get to the end of a level, and some could be more difficult than others. And like I said, you can go through stealth, or you could just go through and guns blazing and kill all the enemies. Depends on how you want to play your play style. I like to go through them stealth, always have, and I just find it more fun and challenging that way, to try to get through them without killing any enemies or without being seen. So really fun game. The atmosphere in it is just amazing. The music is awesome. There's some really great music. There's really great scenes, cut scenes, some real emotional scenes you can see. Some pretty crazy, freaky stuff does happen in the game. You have a variety of enemies too, not just humans, but you also have these weird mutant creatures, watchmen, and these other little flying guys you have to watch out for, which you can kill and easily and have everything. But then you also have different enemies in the game, because there's our different people throughout the world that are different factions. So there's a ranger faction, which is what you are part of, but there's also the Red Army, which is the Soviets, the Communist Soviet. There's also Nazis again in this, so like a Fourth Reich, a new Nazi regime started up. And then there's also a merchants guild, and there's also other random people in the Metro. And basically what started this game in the story is that a nuclear war happens with America and other countries, and Moscow and Russia and all of them everybody gets destroyed, and 40,000 people fled to the Metro tunnel system. and went down there to survive the blast. And then this game takes place 20 years later, and obviously, people have died and they've been breeding and stuff. So there's no way to actually tell how many people are actually left, but there still are thousands of people, and then that's where this story picks, especially when you have the first one, and then it goes into the second one here, Last Light. And so you're in a post-apocalyptic world, and you guys are living in the metros down below, eating rats and trying to grow food and stuff down there. And the surface is completely still irradiated, so there's radiation, hot pockets and stuff. And so when your character does go to the surface, because it's not always just down below in the metros, you actually have to use gas masks to have, and has filters, and you have a timer on it. So you can only stay on the surface for so long, and can only stay in certain areas because you'll start getting radiation poisoning. It can kill you, and you also can run out of air. And if you run out of air, you're going to suffocate and die. So there are those aspects to the game as well, where you want to explore, but you also got to be kind of quick too, depending on how many filters you have. It has a nice variety of weapons too, and they're customizable. And you have different kinds of weapons, which they're pre-war, so weapons that were made before the Great War happened, and then these are the weapons. Then there's also the weapons that were made after the war, and of course the ones that are made after are old, dirty. They were repurposed weapons. They have like old, dirty ammo and stuff. They can jam at times, and they're not as reliable as the pre-war weapons that you would like to get, that some of the enemies have, and that you can find randomly in the world. Now the game has a currency system, which is actually high-grade ammo, so they're like little gold bullets, which you can actually use because they have more stopping power, but they're better used as a currency, because when you find merchants, you can trade them in to buy new guns or a new weapon. And if you have a gun that you don't want anymore, you can trade it in and get another gun. So you've got handguns, you've got shotguns, you've got a pneumatic weapon that shoots little balls, and then has a little pump for the air on it. There's also sniper rifles, shotguns. There's like a minigun, shotgun type weapon you can find. So there's a whole variety of weapons to choose from. There's all kinds of different attachments you can get, like pre-war attachments, like a night vision scope you can put on top of it, or a sniper rifle scope for 2 times zoom. And they have one, the iron sights you can use, and they have one you can put laser beams on them, so you can the laser dot and sight, so you can see where you're shooting. So there's all kinds of ways to customize your weapons as well, which is cool. And then of course, you can there's health packs and stuff to heal your game, because there is no regenerating health. So if you get down really low, you got to use a health pack on yourself, and you can only hold so many of those. But it's overall a really fun game. I absolutely love this series, and highly recommend you guys check out Metro Last Light and the Metro Redux, which, like I said, you can get this on Xbox One, PS4, or Nintendo Switch. I beat it on 360, beat it on Xbox One, and now I'm going through and beating it on the Switch. And you can beat these games between like 10 to 12 or so hours to get through the story, so they're not like terribly long. There are little collectibles that you can get in the game, little diaries that explain what RTM's doing throughout the world, and there's sometimes 1, 2, or 3, or maybe even 4 in a level. So I do recommend getting a little guide for that, because there were no strategy guides released for these, and I've been using that to find the little collectibles. But overall, a really fun and enjoyable story, and I think you guys should check it out. You will not be disappointed. Trust me, give the Metro series a chance. They're one of my favorite first-person shooters. I absolutely love them, so definitely check them out. To our quick little recap, like we always do, I talked about Yakuza 0. This is a prequel to the Yakuza series, the very first one. Highly recommend you check it out, because you get to check out Kazuma Kiryu and Goro Majima and their past in 1988 when they were young Yakuzas, and you get to see how they were before they became the legends that they are in the series. Highly recommend you guys check it out. Has a great main story to go through, tons of great cutscenes, voiced in Japanese, lots of mini games you can do, like you can go to batting cages, you can do pool, you can do karaoke, you can do dancing, you can go bowling. There's tons of different random characters that you can become friends with and unlock perks and stuff. There's items to buy at stores that you can use. They can heal yourself, buy pop or food and stuff, eat at restaurants to heal your character. You get into random battles and stuff, and it's just a really fun, enjoyable game that I think you guys should check out, especially if you got a PlayStation 4. Pick up Yakuza 0. You'll not be disappointed. And we also talked about Metro Redux here, and I've been playing Metro Last Light. I beat 2033 already on the Switch, but now I'm going through and playing Last Light. It takes place in a post-apocalyptic world down in the metros. The world's been destroyed, and now humanity's trying to survive, and of course that leads people to fighting each other, and you get to go through and experience a very wonderful, dark story that has a wonderful atmosphere that'll really draw you in and keep you wanting to play more and more to learn the story, and really gets you to like Artyom, who's the main character, and see where his story takes him. Really good to go into play through. So definitely think you guys should check these out. Let me know your guys' thoughts and opinion if you played either of these two. I would love to hear what games you guys have played. Like I said, it always gives me great ideas on games to check out. And if you have any recommendations at any game you think I should check out, let me know, because I'm always looking for new games to check out. I'm looking forward to the rest of my vacation here, because I am planning to play a lot of games. So definitely should have some more to share with you guys in next week's weekly playlist. I want to thank you for watching. Take care. You guys have an amazing day, and Sleepy will see you next time.